Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. My name is Dr. Owen Campbell, and with me, as always, is Dr. Brian Wolf. And together we are PhysioGrowth. PhysioGrowth is a mastermind group where we coach physical therapy business owners and honestly any business owners um, in the healthcare space to be able to build their practice, scale their practice. Brian has built his company up from cash based clinic in the back of his car all the way up to 5 clinics and doing about 2 million in revenue. And I have been in the corporate PT world, so I had a lot of education with scaling and success with scaling. Doubling business in 3 years for a massive region, and we got a good exit. So in that, we are going to look, it's the new year, right? We are hopefully going to have this one out close to the new year, and we're going to talk about our goals, right? So I've been seeing a lot of Instagram posts recapping people's years. Awesome job by a lot of people out there in every level of physical therapy. I've seen multiple clinics who are posting that they've hit their goals. I've seen people who just started out what they're hitting. So awesome job in 2024. And then Brian and us are really going to talk about how we get to 2025, like what we're looking at. As a lot of listeners will know, we have our own full-time businesses that we're running right now.
Yeah,
So we could talk about our businesses, and obviously, we might pepper in a few things in there for PhysioGrowth.
I think it's awesome, man. Yeah, I think what's fun too is obviously I also want to cap off our goals here and what we want to do. So I think it'll be fun as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, exciting stuff. So
Well,
cool, man.
I'll start out because I got to feel there's a lot more of me out in the listening audience than there are of you, right? So, as I talked about in the intro, I have history with scaling businesses for other people when we were 98% insurance, but I just started a cash based practice, right? And I did it about a year, 3 or 4 months ago, and we just obviously finished up the year. And the goals that really I'm looking at is I want to continue the metamorphosis from starting out as a side hustle to was never really a side hustle. I just kind of jumped all in and took some PRN shifts, right? But now I'm at a point where I can comfortably not do any PRN shifts, right? And I can spend a lot more time on marketing. So now I'm looking to get my business from a word of mouth, how are you, I know this guy, he helped my grandma, whatever, to a place that it's a business, right? That I can count
Yeah,
on referrals coming in from multiple sources, that I don't have to have these ups and downs of, holiday weeks or busy, in Arizona we have a high season coming up. I want to really see that kind of come to fruition. So I'm looking forward. That's probably my biggest goal, I guess, of the year.
nice. That's awesome. I mean, again, having a consistent referral sourcing, those kind of things, the funnel, right? Having those funnels ready to rock is awesome. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
I
I'm
love that.
learning
Right.
I'm learning a lot really about sales, honestly. So you kind of say like you should be reading, what you want to achieve later, right? So a lot of my downtime reading, podcasts, whatever, is basically figuring out how to get the math on advertisements, right? And like the different kind of how to get more people knowing that I exist. Because what I've
Yeah.
looked at to kind of go under the hood and try and be simple about it is I looked at my visits per each new patient I get, right? So visits per referral metric. And I'm doing pretty good for a cash based practice. I'm at about 8.59 visits per new referral. So that tells me I'm creating good value to the people who do know me, right? They want to stick around. They think that I'm worth the money, right? And I've also looked at what we call long term or lifetime value of a customer to customer acquisition costs. So how much each customer or each client or each patient pays in a year versus how much I had to spend on marketing. And that ratio is pretty good. We tell our people in our mastermind group a lot that 3 to 1 is what you want to be seeing on that. And I'm actually more at like a 5 to 1, right?
Nice.
5 or 6 to 1. And we know, and this is going to be more in depth stuff that you guys can get into in our mastermind group, but that basically tells me I got to market more. So I know that 2025, I'm going to be looking to get way more people paying attention to the fact that I exist.
Yeah, man. I tell people this all the time, right? And I love this quote because I think it's a huge piece is if you're not doing over $1 million in business, all you need to focus on is marketing.
Mhm.
That's it. And I'll give you a great example of this. I had somebody today, and we've been in this town of Darien, Connecticut, God, now almost going on the better half of a decade, almost over 10 years. We've had our business. And literally this woman came in, she clicked on an ad, went through one of our funnels, like came in, and she basically goes, I've always wondered what's going on in this place. That's literally what she said to me. So it's like, it's still the cool part is she knew that we're there. So we've gotten to a point where I love this quote from a book that I was reading, and I'll quote the book because I'll find it on my Audible. But
We can put it
one
in
of
the
the things,
description. Yeah.
what's that? Yeah, one of the things that I thought was great was, in fact, it was a Simon Sinek quote. He talked about how with Apple and what they look at from an innovation perspective when it comes to the way that they get people involved in their new technology is one of the things they do is they try and really push for early adopters, meaning there are a certain amount of people, like 10 to 20% of people, that essentially are used to trying out new products and then will tell people about the other products. If you can get a certain point of those early adopters to use your services, it will be the tipping point where word of mouth will sort of take over. That's what happens after about $1 million. So if you get to that point, you can just focus. Now you know the problem, just keep focusing on marketing and you can grow that, right? So I think that's a really good way to look at it. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I think that's the way that I would really approach that goal is for you is to really try and work on just consistently trying to work on your marketing, and it should get better. So
Yeah.
that's the nice thing about that is now we have a solution. We again, we do this in PhysioGrowth all the time to help people, because I think marketing is probably the biggest thing. But I think what you also said in there that was interesting is sales, because if you can't sell your services, that's something where you're going to struggle no matter what type of practice you have. You
Mhm.
have to have sales experience if you're going to be a leader in any type of organization. I've talked about this with my PTs all the time.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that there's a big difference between marketing and sales, right? Like marketing is people know you exist. Sales is actually getting them to buy your product, right? And being able it's the hardest part about being a solopreneur is you kind of have to be a little bit good at everything. And
Yeah,
then once you get to, a bigger business level, then you can really ratchet it up where you can hire somebody who's only good at sales and only good at marketing. And then, I mean, it's way better, right? So
yeah.
I'm in that trudging through the mud phase.
And I
But
will tell you the good
it's
news
working.
about it too. To interrupt you, right?
Oh, you're good, man.
Is you find people who are good at sales, you find people who are good at marketing, but you also realize with experience that now one, there's me and Owen were talking about this pre-show was there's a lot of BS out there where people be like, I'll take care of your marketing, right? How many times, Owen, do you get like, hey, oh,
Mhm,
here's the I love this like cold email. Hey, Owen, are you able to take on 15 to 30 new clients next week? Would that
mhm.
be something you could do? Right? Like
I got 4
there's
of those
all
emails this
these
week.
marketing people out there that can actually help you grow your fucking business. They're full of shit. Otherwise, they would be growing their own business, right? That's the reality of the situation. And so what happens is there's a lot of bad marketing guys out there. So if you
Yeah,
can learn how to market your own business and grow your own business, then you also hold the cards to figure out, okay, now what happens is there's a tipping point where
yeah,
you're like, oh crap, I need help doing this because I don't have the time. Right. For
yeah,
me, within my company, it's what I focus on for all 19 of our clinics. I really work on and I because I'm good at it, but we've used 3 to 4 other agencies to try and take that out of my hands. But
mhm,
all of them have not been better than me at it. So I just do it on myself by myself for everything. So it
yeah,
works out doing well. And so I've accepted that kind of like marketing spot. And it's fine. It works really well. But what's frustrating is actually it's easier to hand off treatment. So one of the things that can happen, so say you're a solopreneur, is you're saying, hey, how do I get to a point where I can hire other therapists? Well, one of the things that's really important is controlling how many people come in the door. So if you
yeah,
have an abundance, you said this to one of our members in our group is, you need to have before they hire somebody, they should have a waiting list for like a 2 to 3 week waiting list, and
yeah,
they could do that where they were making their first hire. Now you don't necessarily do that when you're in the position where I'm at, but you can do that when you are a cash solopreneur and now, okay, cool, I can just take all these clients and put them right on to my
yeah,
new person, so I won't get hurt, and then you can keep focusing on marketing. So sometimes it's good to do it that way also. I find that to
yeah.
be actually easier because now you don't have to teach people marketing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And now, Brian, I got to ask you, like, what do you see in the future for evolution, man? Like, what are you guys working on into 2025 when you now 5 clinics and a bunch of employees? I don't even know how many you got, but
Yeah,
what does a big boy think about goals now?
I think the big one for me is looking to acquire clinics. I think the big
Okay.
one for me is because I can talk about revenue numbers and what we're doing and trying to grow them, and those are all good. But I think one of the things we're trying to do is focusing on optimizing profit margin. That would definitely be one. So
Mhm.
again, once you get over 1 million, which we are, we're very lucky for that, and well, maybe
Yeah.
not lucky, but thankful for that. But in
Yeah.
terms of the way we've done that now, is beginning to optimize things and make sure that you're streamlining and bringing. Now I don't have to say yes to everything. Now I want to say yes to the right things, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so I think when it comes down to, okay, how do we keep optimizing our growth? How do we keep growing that from that ability? Um, I think acquiring one of the things that we've recognized within evolution by a lot of the systems that we talk about here on this podcast, we bought into a clinic in May of 2024, and we basically doubled the amount of visits that they were doing within 6 months. There
Yeah.
was a lot of logistical headaches to doing that because you make it very, very busy, very, very quickly. But we've
Yeah.
recognized now what happens is where we are, to your point, at the level we're at, it's a lot easier than start something from scratch. You
Oh
can
yeah.
you can find clinics that are struggling to grow but have maintained great relationships within the community, within the doctors that are in the area, that kind of thing, um, and then help them scale their business. And that's
And the
that's what we've done, and we've recognized that. I mean, that's a very lucrative thing, not only for the person selling the practice to us, but also for us. It's a win-win, and that's a really big step for us now that we're in this arena.
Well, and the nice thing about your size too is, and getting through a few acquisitions, is that then you start you figure out where your best pitches are, right? You figure
Yes.
out like, okay, this type of clinic owner works really well with what we do, and you
Yeah.
know, this one definitely doesn't. It's almost more about avoiding the mistakes than it is about finding the successes, when
Yeah.
you're in that acquisition phase.
And you know what? I'll talk about that real quick because it's kind of an interesting topic. We could do a total podcast on this, on acquisition. One thing that we've recognized, I mean, we're perfect people to talk about this, right? Both from
Yeah.
you and your background on the corporate side, and me.
Yep.
One thing that I think that we made a mistake in one of our locations was that the things that make our business unique and the things that make physical therapy practices unique are the systems that they put in place to make money. And I
Mhm.
don't mean it in the sense of like, well, everybody's like, well, yeah, duh, we treat patients. I don't mean just that, because the aspect of what really makes evolution unique is the aspect of how we set up the way we treat patients, our billing systems, how we do like PT classes, and how we do fitness stuff, how we do athletic training contracts, how we negotiate stuff with professional organizations, how we create all these different revenue streams and create a very stable business
Mhm.
to allow for physical therapy to scale the right way, right? You don't have to do patients every 15 minutes. You don't have to do anything like that. Now, again, I don't even want to hate on the professional physical therapists, that professional PT practices that do that. Like, that is just one way to treat. It's not negative or positive, but that's just not how we want to do it. So we wanted to grow a
Yeah.
different business. So I think that's what makes evolution unique. So your point about the sales piece, that's what we pitch to the person who's like, I'm interested in growing and scaling my business, because that's what we're doing. We've recognized that this model will scale too.
Yeah.
So it
And that's
it
it.
feels
That's
small,
key.
but also can go big. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the fact that you guys have figured out a way to be very patient forward, um, and especially in the sports space, where very, very often people will be like, I don't know, just get over there and do squats. The high school kid will take care of you.
Yeah,
The
man.
fact that you've been able to be very patient forward and also figured out some scalability or some scaling things that do work,
Yeah.
um, very exciting. I mean, like,
Yeah.
a lot of PTs are rooting for you in your corner to be able to do something with that, because, look at what we see. We see the only way to scale is to see a bazillion patients, right? And the hope is that good minds are figuring that out. So
Dude, I
that's
think
awesome, man.
we'll have to have Junt on at some point. We'll have
Yeah,
to have him on because it'll be good to
your
talk about this
partner.
kind of stuff.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
exactly. So I think one of the things that and my partner and I, Owen knows him, we went to college all together. And one
He was
one of the things
he
that
was in the
that
back row.
exactly.
You were in the front row. Judson and
Exactly.
I were in the back row. Thank you
Exactly.
very
So I think
much.
when I think about the conversations him and I had, we were talking about this. It was here's the thing we're trying to do bigger, but that was what I think got us all involved in it, right? Was like, it's patient centered. It's what we all taught about in college. It's what we all taught about wanting to do. And so the idea of how to scale it and grow something significant was worth the swing, right? To
Yeah,
try. And I
yeah,
think that's the type of thing where it's exciting when you think about how to do some more, like, again, to your point, like, I've recognized that it's a lot more fun. Yeah. Just getting a bunch of patients and treating 150 patients a week, one person at a time, like, yeah, like, that will make money. You'll do well. But like,
yeah,
who wants to work in a very expensive job like that? It's not
yeah.
I don't think long term. I actually think it's harder to scale that business than it is other businesses personally.
Well, because of the turnover.
Well, and also, yeah, because the quality is going to suck. So
Yep.
like you're pushing a crap product in
Yep.
theory, right?
Exactly.
Or one you
It's
don't
yeah, you
believe
gotta
in.
spend a lot of you bleed money on marketing, you
Yeah,
bleed
man.
money on retention, and then you go and do a public offering, and now you're a penny stock.
Yeah,
So
exactly, exactly. Ooh,
all right.
shots fired.
Oh, not even a penny stock actually filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah,
So and then the last thing I want to go over now too is what are our goals for physio growth, man?
yeah,
Are
man.
we having are we having a planning session here on live podcast?
Yeah, I guess so. For me, I think it's look. I think Owen and I have had conversations about this. What we do with physio growth and how we do this, we could charge so much more money than that based off of what the competitors are doing. The cool part about this is we don't have to, and we you and I have
Yeah.
talked about this, right? Like we are doing what we're doing in our group and what we're doing together. I think a lot of it is obviously trying to help more people. We
Yeah.
That's always been our focus here is trying to help more people because we genuinely enjoy talking to one another. The original goal of last year was to help Owen grow his business, and then we slowly realized that this was working. We could do this for other people and help other
I
people. And
mean, I mean, 120K in 1 year, first year
yeah.
for the LLC is not bad.
By the way, it's more than triple what I did my first year. To give you an idea of the trajectory of where Owen's going, right? So like what shows in that way is that if you have a blueprint that's been done that you just follow and execute, that will grow. I mean, Owen said something to me in the pre-show, and I'm going to steal from him, is he felt more confident about taking different leaps. And the reality of entrepreneurship, I love this, quote. And it was Steve Harvey who said it. He was like, if you want to be successful in life, every person's going to have to take the jump. They're going to have to jump off the cliff, right?
Mhm.
And it's going to seem scary when you're jumping off. And he goes, that parachute's not going to open right off the bat. He goes, you're going to hit some sticks and some rocks and some shit's going to be terrible. But
Yeah.
eventually that chute will open, right? And there's
Yeah.
various ways that you that cliff appears, right? Whether it's waiting for certain things to open up properly, whether it's starting a workshop, whether it's doing things online, whatever, right? And so I think in this regard, what I would ultimately say is I think that having somebody who can take you through the process is really beneficial. And so I
Mhm.
think that we've had now, me and Owen have seen a bunch of successful people that we've helped, and that's been really exciting. So I think now we have a blueprint, and we're also trying to build more courses around what we're seeing people want more help with. Like we're just talking about podcasts, how Bill is starting podcasts and how to do that, how to put those courses out. So smaller things that like that to larger things like how to scale and sell business and acquire them, right? So for me, I think our goal is definitely to help more people.
Mhm.
Um, and I think grow our obviously social media channels. That would be obviously helpful too. But this is us watching a piece of grass grow. I think for us, we're not concerned about the aspect of this being done tomorrow, right?
Well, and that's it. We don't, we are very intentionally trying to stay away from the, you know, I can put 5 patients in your clinic tomorrow type of promise, right?
Which
And
I can, by the way. But go ahead.
okay. Okay, maybe Brian's too cocky to not
I'm
say that.
kidding. No, no, exactly.
But no, I mean we look at it like this, right? Like we're both PTs, we're both nerdy hardcore PTs. We would be doing this, you know, or even if we made $1 billion tomorrow, we probably still go to the clinic, right? And I think that what we're really our vision is to give good quality advice from people who've done it and not like rake people over the coals, right? So, you know, sorry, my dogs are going nuts. Not rake people over the coals. And I think we think good business advice should not be gate kept, right? Yes, we have to charge for it, right?
Yeah.
But that's why we're putting it in a mastermind group, $100 a month. 4 weekly Q&As, and then we'll just grow it from there, man. Like we just want the profession to have a bigger seat at the table. And one of the best ways you do that is have a bunch of successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, man. I agree. I agree. And I think also just like mentorship from perspective, because I was talking to one of my PTs real quick to end. Also for people who are listening to this who are like, I don't know if I want to open my own practice, but I'm looking for more guidance.
Yeah.
This also going to be help people who are staff physical therapists help grow into like high level positions. Like Owen has literally gone and done high level positions in like corporate physical therapy and other pieces along those lines, or clinical directors or any of those things. Like there are really great ways to get seats at the table as well, right? And so
Yeah.
you can build and become regional directors and clinical directors and all that stuff. So we just we I think our goal is to help all sorts of different people because we've done so many different things
Mhm.
that ultimately we can help in a lot of different ways. So there's no one
Yeah.
who's listening to this podcast that we can't help. So that I think is our goal, is really to grow, our presence and what we're doing. And again, our number one thing here is to try and grow our marketing. So we're working on that too. So that's the idea behind it.
There you go. All right, man. Well, cheers to 2025. Can't wait to rewatch this in a year, see how we go, right?
I know. Sounds good. I love it.
All right,
Cool.
man.
All right, man. See ya.
See you.